Phoenix, how's it look from out there?
Zeke are 300 deep at Greengold's house.
We gotta hold for backup.
He's dead if we wait. We gotta get him out now.
Hey. Oh boy. Oh. Been 3 weeks. Wow, I'm lazy. Alright, starting this. It's been way too long since I've done something like this. I don't really know how to transition into video format much anymore. I took a little bit of a break just to reflect and just get better at the whole video thing. Quite proud of how well I've kind of transitioned out of the whole sticking to one thing kind of narrative. You know, specifically just making the same video over and over and over. So I figured I'd shake it up a little bit. Just a tad, not something huge or anything. But still changing. I don't know. I really want this to work out, but at this time I have no idea. I don't really know where this is gonna go, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's going to be an easy thing or a hard thing. I don't know if it's going to be harder for me to pull people in, or if more people are going to start disliking. I don't know. I'm just in this weird phase of I don't know what to do, and I just wish someone would help me out. Just tell me what you want. I don't do YouTube for money, and I really don't even get that many views on it, but I'm here to entertain, so tell me something you want to see for entertainment. And then, it's really the only thing I can think of to open the beginning to this video, other than this is the game World War Z, and that's what we've been talking about today. I decided to do this game because the Game of the Year edition came out last month or the month before. It came out recently, so I figured I'd show off what the game is in case anybody wanted to buy the Game of the Year edition, which isn't that bad, honestly. But we will talk about that later on, about price, if the game is worth it, all that good stuff. Other than that, the game is good. It's a good game. I'm gonna put my little, like, first opinion in before we get into, like, the deeper stuff. But the game is good. That explosion scared the crap out of me when I was recording the gameplay for this. Scared the absolute crap out of me. But we'll get into, like, the main points here in just a second. I just wanted to open the video by saying a couple words, introduce the game. It's a zombie game, obviously. I don't know if people will like that or dislike that. I guess depending on your point of view and everything. I didn't do too good in this video. I had just came back to playing video games from a couple-day break, and it was just weird getting back into it at the time. It was just strange, but I'm back. I don't know if I'll continue doing this more frequently or still once a month. I don't know, but it's whatever people want to see. If you want to tell me, if you want something in particular, tell me. If it's something I don't think people will like, I probably won't do it. It's entirely up to you what you want to see. So, just don't tell me something weird, and I think it'd be wonderful. So, thank you, and we're gonna go ahead and start with the video. Okay, let's start by talking about the first category for reviewing a game, which is going to be a new thing I do in place of videos. Instead of making a 15-minute to 30-minute long video of me sitting here saying the same couple words over and over again to prove a point, I'm actually going to go into more detail about how I feel about select categories from audio, gameplay, and the visuals for the game. Anywhere in between that region is something I'm going to be talking about. So, for this category, we'll be talking about how the game looks, how it performs under certain stresses. The only major thing I can think of for if there's any performance issues is when a ton of zombies show up in a location, because it's you'll see later on when I talk about gameplay, but in select areas it is there's massive amounts of zombies that run at you, and the game tanks a little around those areas, but no game is going to be, you know, 120 frames a second and crystal clear on consoles anyway. If you have a PC, I'm sure this game is fantastic. I'm sure it runs great. I'm sure it looks great. There are some minor inconveniences with some of how the zombies act and look. You know, the zombies act fine. I don't know why I said act. They do use the same couple models over and over, which is, you know, it makes sense. When you kill like 10,000 per mission, you're gonna have to use some of the assets you used previously, which that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. I'm sure a lot of game developers do that in their games, so it's fine. I know Skyrim did that a lot. So I understand why people would, or I understand why the game developers would leave that like that. So it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Other than the little bit of frame rate issues you get on the occasion when the big swarms show up, that's really the only major thing. I know that there is little bits of issues with the guns. Sometimes they don't look like exactly how they're supposed to look when you're customizing them earlier on, but that's like a pet peeve. Like, I'm sure that that's just like that intentionally. It could be camera work too, because it's third person here, but when you're looking at the gun, it's like you're holding it. So that makes sense as well. So other than that, like the little issues I have with it, there's nothing huge about it. I know that I'm reading too much into it, but I assume people would rather hear me, I'm assuming people would rather hear me go into it a little bit more than say nothing. And that'll do it for the visual category, so we'll move on to the next. Alright, let's talk about the audio. Now, the audio for the game is kind of weird in some senses. In select areas it's good. There's good audio every once in a while. And mainly it's just it acts differently depending on the scenario. If you have a gun that shoots maybe one time and then it waits, like a shotgun or a pistol, the audio for it sounds pretty okay until you get to the fully automatic weapons, and then sometimes the audio for them cut out when you're shooting at zombies in select areas when you need to interact with something. The audio just begins to chunk out. It just begins to come in and out, including when it's mixed with dialogue mainly. And other than that, there's no problems with it. It sounds amazing when you're just rapid firing guns that work. And really, that's the only issues with audio. Other than that, it works perfectly fine. Especially in scenarios like you're seeing now, against these big swarms. It works great. And I don't really have a lot to say about audio. It works pretty good. And that's my final thoughts on the audio. Alright, we can't talk about a game and not include gameplay. You know, the whole reason you play games. So, we may as well get into that just a little bit before I end off the video. It's kind of hard to explain. Anybody that's played Left 4 Dead is going to understand this game. Basically, you start out with a class. You pick a class between, I believe it's 4 or 5 different classes. It's about the standard ones you'd expect, like gunner, medic, a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of melee-based stuff with certain people. But the main thing is that everybody can do everything. Medics can kill, like a juggernaut, and, you know, people with melee can heal themselves if they have to. It's nothing insane. It's really playstyle based. If you know what your playstyle is, you're probably gonna figure out this game pretty quick. The main thing that there is about the game, I think the most enjoyable part is the big swarms that show up eventually. Is these massive, just waves of zombies. It's absolutely entertaining. It's more fun when they give you the heavy weapons like chainsaws, grenade launchers, RPGs, the big fully sent box magged LMGs that have explosive bullets. It's insanely fun. Defending areas is kind of my least favorite part, though. Like this area in particular, I was not a big fan of, because I was just sitting here with an M4 shooting at a doorway, and I'm not a huge fan of the I have to shoot at this doorway for 30 minutes to make sure that it clears the area or whatever. So I was obviously not a huge fan of this area of the level. But it got better later on down the road. If it's a slow level at the start, it's not going to be later on. For sure. The bots kept yelling at me about killing the screamer, but I couldn't get outside to it. And that brings me to my next point, and it's the different kinds of infected in the game. I don't remember all of them. I believe it's 4 or 5 different ones. I know there is the bull, which is basically just the charger from Left 4 Dead. And he just runs up, knocks you on the ground. Nothing insane with the bull. There's the bomber, which I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. He kind of just walks up and explodes. It's basically like fighting a creeper. You gotta shoot it from a good distance. What's after that? There's the screamer, which I just talked about. He just screams, it pulls more zombies in. Nothing crazy there either. There's an infector. I'm still not sure to this day what an infector does. Mainly because it spits at you, and you have to kill it using melee. Which is kind of weird to me that you have to. Here's one actually, right now. It kind of just spits at you, and then you have to kill it with a melee. I know you have to disinfect yourself if you get spit on. I think it causes damage over time or something. I'm sure you've noticed already that your weapon and your equipment and everything is at the bottom right. Here's a bomber now too. Your equipment, medkits, and your special abilities and everything, those are at the bottom right. Same with your gun, your health. My health was at half right here. It's a mess of an area. But other than that, for gameplay, that brings us to here, which is the customization section. Every gun you get in the game is customizable, from SMGs all the way to crossbows. The skins don't really matter. It does about everything the same. Alright, I figured now is a good time for me to end off the video by explaining, or not explaining, but saying what my opinion is of the game, rating it from 0 to 10, 0 being bad, 10 being great. If I had to give this game anything, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's a good game. It won't hold your attention very long. It's definitely something you can't play a bunch and not get bored of. It's very fun, don't get me wrong. Playing it alone, very boring. And the audio messed up here. So I appreciate you for watching my videos. If you need more stuff, you know where to find it, and I will catch you in the next one.